Yes.
So that's something that they're supposed to consider. Alafu Grace tulikuwa tumesema today tutaangalia things to do with that is politics and governance.
Yes.
And tulisema kwa politics and governance tutaangalia things to do with the former deputy president.
Yeah.
And then we'll check bado the national news and internal news itself.
Yeah.
And now on the national news, Grace, there's a story that has been highlighted on page 1 of my Daily Nation, and they have highlighted, imekuwa quoted, repressive regime. Repressive. And they're saying, a state brutality. In its latest review, the UN, that is the United Nations, has delivered a scathing rebuke to the President Ruto, to President Ruto's administration over its use of retrogressive tactics, including extrajudicial killings, abductions. This we saw abductions zili happen kwanza last year.
Yeah.
Zilikuwa mingi sana. Abductions, enforced disappearances, and curbs on civic space and constitutionally guaranteed freedoms. While previous governments under Moi Kibaki and NURU Kenyatta faced criticism, the current regime stands accused of flying the flag of outright. And that story is in page 2, 3, and 4. But I can see wameweka hapa picha of the president.
Yeah.
And he's very serious by the way, Grace. And then we can see bado kuna the police wamehold that he's ameshika sijui kama ni AK47 sijui ni gari. And then there's a young person that is being dragged. Opportunity. Actually it's a very it looks sad.
Yes.
And we can see here imeandikwa all the people who disappeared or abducted have been brought back to their families. I have given instructions that nothing of that nature will happen again. That is what the president said. That is May 12, 2025. And now let's before anything else, still bado upper their figures. We're not sure if these figures they are approximately correct. That is 1,146 people abused by security organs during that is June 2024 Gen Z protest, and then 60 protesters killed during the last year anti-financial bill protest, then 66 protesters abducted during last year anti-finance bill protest, and then 32 protesters who disappeared during the anti-finance bill protests.
Yes.
Yeah, Grace, you have something to say
this
about
story,
that?
actually this story is here, and we see he was speaking yesterday. He met the Finnish counterpart Alexander Stubb at State House, Nairobi, yesterday. Yeah, President William Ruto has insisted that all persons who had disappeared or abducted during the Gen Z protest last year were returned to their homes. Even as he challenged the veracity of the figures issued by human rights organizations on the victims affected by the said illegalities. The head of the state also denied any state-sanctioned enforced disappearances, saying he was clear when he was sworn in as the president of Kenya that his administration would not condone any form of extrajudicial killings or abductions. But okay, that's what he said. But last week, a report by the Missing Voices Coalition, dubbed brutal policing, revealed that at least 104 people, that is 104 people, were killed extrajudicially by state security officers, with another 55 going missing through enforced disappearances across the country in 2024. So tunaona kuna a lot of abductions and a lot of killings. Although anasema yeye when he was sworn in, he did not want to condone such things. Na anasema the figures that ambazo zinasemwa hapo ni kama they are not really correct, but we really don't know about that.
And I'm wondering, will justice be served, you know, to the families? Because kuna we saw last month, Grace, kuna watu walikuwa na complain that justice bado ijakuwa served. And they want justice to be served. And we say that history iko page 2, 3, and 4 of my standard. And they have elicited some of the stories za watu wenye walikuwa affected. Police opened fire and demonstrators before Rex Masai death. The inquest was told. This is one of the people, the young people, mwenye alikufa, that is last year. Police protesters' testimony shares trouble letting police conduct on that fateful day. And let me read a little bit of what they're saying. In a gripping testimony before a Nairobi court, a protester yesterday recounted a chilling event surrounding the death of the activist. This was one of the activists, that is Rex Masai, placing the blame on the police officers. You know, and the demonstrator, that is Frederick Otieno, who is said to be an engineer and participated in the anti-finance bill protesters in Nairobi June 18th and 20th last year, narrated before a Milimani court on how live bullets were fired by police officers during what he insists was a peaceful demonstration. According to them, it was a peaceful demonstration, but bado kulikuwa na live bullets zilikuwa fired. You know, and they're saying Frederick Otieno, the witness, this is what he said: the first time I saw the plainclothes officers, they were among those in uniform. Later, they left the group of the uniformed police officers and moved into the crowd. You know,
yeah, so but we see here he's giving some some statement. I have given clarity and firm instructions that nothing of that nature will happen again. It was my commitment when I became president that extrajudicial disappearances of Kenyans will not be part of what we are doing as a nation. He said, when alisema,
and still bado kumekuwa related in Kisumu, a baby Pendo was murdered. You know, still bado on page 3 of my Daily Nation, we can see the human rights they're trying to talk about it, Grace. And on page 4 of my Standard, they're saying that a UN report finds that despite bold rhetoric and reform, the country has accelerated its descent in autocracy. And the thing is, it incites killings, disappearances, and suppression of dissent amid worsening attacks on the judicial and civil society. You know, and this is at a glance, there are highlights of what the civil society told the UN. They have alleged a few things. Our penal code still, number one, the penal code still restricts freedom of expression. Computer misuse and cybercrime act target bloggers. Number 2, internet shutdown and restrictions on digital platforms increasing. Especially we saw last year this was happening. And then number 3, penal code sections on assembly and breach of peace misused to harass civil society and human rights defenders. And then another one, mass protesters of the finance bill 2024-2025 met with excessive police force, arrest and enforced disappearances. Another one, media covering protests face threats of closure or penalties. Another one, the attacks on government critics, journalists and human rights defenders continue, lack of protection framework. Another one, that is access to information hampered by poor implementation despite legal framework. Surveillance technology causes fear on persecution. Progress in housing rights, but affordable housing for poor lacking forced evictions continues. Let me repeat that: progress in housing rights, but affordable housing for poor lacking forced evictions continue. Hii mambo ya eviction tumeona sana, especially watu wakibomolewa manyumba, unakuja unaambiwa this belongs to the government. You know, you've seen evictions happening. And then energy supply unreliable and unaffordable to many. You know, sijui tuseme ni juu economy ama the high taxes, things are expensive. I don't know, probably. Our health budget below projection, sector understaffed and underfunded. This is true, especially to do with the mambo ya SHA. And then tuliona venye UN walika you said walikat funding yao, ili affect a lot of things. Our free education underfunded and rural and informal settlement underserved. But then there's free education. You know, want to hear from Kenyans. Do you feel like despite mambo ya free, kuna zile zinaitwa mashule, the public schools?
So jana kwa Daily Nation, kuna walimu tuliona kwa public school wanaitisha hongo kubwa sana. From around 10,000 to 40,000, I can't remember, but kuingia kwa public school, can you imagine, wanaitisha hongo hizo pesa zote kwa mwananchi. Na unajua public school ndio watoto wengi they really afford it. But for now it really seems ni kama hata sasa hiyo public school ni kama haiwezi, the children cannot really afford it.
We really want to hear from citizens. Do they feel like still there's a big difference between that is the private schools and the public schools? Ama saizi inafanana ama saizi the public ndio zimekuwa the private. Really want to hear from you. Talk to us on 0799200100. That is our WhatsApp number. And still on social media handles, that is on Facebook and YouTube at Mizpah Tv Kenya, #NURU Current Affairs. And lastly, low awareness of competency-based curriculum and digital divine hinders learning. You know, but I don't think they have really done their awareness sana. You know, educating, you know, especially the parents.
Yes.
You know, mzazi anakuja anaambia, actually, do you know many parents wanapeleka tu watoto shule, but they really don't have an understanding what is CBC, you know, what the difference between system ilikuwa na CBC sai. You know, ama
anataka kutengeneza sijui nini. Mzazi anashangaa na msaidia aje, but anyway, let's just hope that our country haya mambo yote, especially concerning security and all these things, that yataangaliwa. And
kwa mambo ya CBC, parents, so far so good. How are you feeling about the CBC? Umeelewa CBC imekuingia kwa system sana, ama you don't have an understanding of what is CBC? You know, when to hear from them, Grace?
We'd love to hear wanasema aje CBC huko nyumbani.
And still bado, as before tutoke kwa mambo ya security, that is an arc of impunity across 3 administrations. The late President Mwai Kibaki and his successor Uhuru Kenyatta, and Ruto, now that is our president. Kenya's promise of justice has steadily eroded, with each leader compounding the failures of the last. So probably this is something that they should check.
Yes.
You know, because this is something that is affecting citizens, and still they're saying that justice was buried in bureaucracy. That wanasema that justice over time and time imekuwa buried in bureaucracy. You know, this is something that they need to check out. And I think that is what we had when it comes to the legal
security.
Legal
this shows that our country, we need security within and also kwa border. The stories are really connected.
And now let's dive into other stories. That is the politics and governance itself. And on page 7 of the Standard, you know, the former deputy president, that is Rigathi Gachagua. We are expecting him to launch, that is what do you call it? His party. You know, want to hear from people whether ni jina gani inakaa kuitwa jina gani. Inakaa kuitwa jina gani. You want to hear from probably kuna watu try kukua creative kwa majina. They saying Gachagua, that is the former deputy president, exit UDA, eyes on 2027 presidency. He cited, this is what they said, he cited economic stagnation and failure to deliver promises as reasons for severing ties with the ruling party. He also cited, that is the former deputy president, he also claimed UDA's leadership is unfit to govern, and called for national unity around single opposition candidate. And the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, has announced his official exit from the UDA alliance as he gears to launch his new party. That is the former deputy president Gachagua has said that he is in the race to become the next president, and should his opposition counterparts deem him from the best candidate to unseat the incumbent, that is the President William Ruto in 2027. So I think he amekuja waziwazi lakini yeye atakuwa the 2027.
But on my Daily Nation, aki amepata a lot of abandonment.
Abandonment?
Okay, it says big blow to Gachagua as Mount Kenya allies abandon him. Tuko tumeona tu last time it was only MP Wambogo. But let me tell you, there are other people. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua appears to be facing defections by his Mount Kenya allies, with that of his right hand, Mr. Ngunjiri Wambogo, being the latest blow. Huyo ndiye latest. Kumaanisha kuna wengine huko mbele,
lakini ndiye latest.
To his political game plan of ring fencing the populous region ahead of 2027. It says already Mr. Gachagua has suffered loyalty flights from Maragua MP Mary Wamau and Kangema MP Peter Kihungi. Others who appeared to support Mr. Gachagua but have since realigned with President William Ruto are Runyenjes MP Eric Mushangi, Embu Women Rep Joki Njeru, and Kieni MP Wainaina Chieni. All the three leaders did not vote in support of Mr. Gachagua's impeachment in October last year, but today they seem to be aligned with the president. Unaona vile amefanywa, wamemchukua wakajifanya wako na yeye alafu wakamrusha chini mara moja.
But you know, Grace, actually see kumrusha, no, see kumrusha, it's politics, Grace, you know. Today I wake up in the morning, ninaona mambo
who are supporting you, now they are not supporting
but
you.
You know, it's politics, Grace, it's politics. And you know, the former deputy president, even on that is delineation, the standard of my page 7, vitu zenye highlight ni the things that he feels that the current government yenye iko sahi, they are not doing it, you know. So you know, I feel like he's acting like the opposition.
Yani kama sahi ana active sasa. Yeah,
it feels like he's the opposition because you know, anasema Grace, he expressed disappointment at what he termed a betrayal of the promise to create jobs and provide dignity through affordable housing. And he said that we pledged to build 250,000 houses annually and employ over 100,000 TVET graduates. Instead, housing's become a personal business venture. So a personal business venture. To who exactly? You know, we don't know, you know, we don't know. Probably Kenyans mnajua ni nani because who akisema personal business venture to who? Because we're expecting the affordable housing za kubenefit mwananchi. But not from what he's saying, a personal business venture and a burden on workers' payslips. So I think workers' payslips ni mambo na tax, taxation. But you know, Grace, what is being done side with the current government is what they had sat down, you know,
wakiwa wote pamoja.
Is what they had sat
and they
down.
Came up with them, the proposals and
even he was part of it. You know, alikuwa kwa hivyo vitu zinaendelea kama angekuwa uongozini bado Grace, ni vitu bado tu zingekuwa zinaendelea. Affordable housing walikuwa pamoja wakakaa chini Grace. So this is something yenye alikuwa ameongea mambo ya taxation and everything ni kitu yenye alikuwa. See, that is the last year, that is when the 2024-2025 budget ilikuwa inasoma,
he was part of it.
He was there. So this is something that he was part of it, but now he's expressing that it's a downfall, it's a failure, or the government is not doing what they had agreed by the time enye alikuwa leadership. Probably he feels like he can bring the change itself. You know, we don't know.
Maybe he can. Na tunaona ameachwa na watu kadhaa hapa ambao they joined him kwa last time akiwa amewa host wa Mnyoro. People's Leadership Party leader Martha Karua, Wiper Chief Kalonzo Musyoka, DAP-K boss Eugene Wamalwa, and former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i were present.
And in addition to another person, Kalonzo Musyoka is still there.
Sasa nashangaa kama hao pia watamruka wakikaka ama ni aje, because tunaona hapa Mr. Njuguna and Miss wa Mushomba, despite earlier being vocal pro Gachagua voices, did not show up at his Wamunyoro home in Nyeri County last Sunday when Mr. Gachagua hosted Anti-Ruto Alliance principles. So unaona akina kuhost watu wetu wenye alikuwa anaaminia watakuja, they didn't come.
But you know, Grace, our twenya mention hapa, that is the Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, most of them were kuna parties zao, that is number one. And pia wao, I think from what we can see here, he's saying that respective, they have a presidential ambition, but will support only one person after they all agree. And he's also part of it. You know, so we're wondering, kila mtu ako na party yake. So what are they going to do? You know, this is something that we want to see what will happen. And still bado on what that is the former deputy president said. Alisema on agricultural reform, he claimed that farmers have been abandoned despite promises of food sufficiency. Akasema, we promised that reforms would be our language. We had promised our country an increased foreign exchange, job creation, lower cost of living, fertilizers for farmers, and grabbing of agricultural land by powerful by powerful people. That is what he said. You know, Grace, I think instead, you know, of criticizing, criticize and give solution. Probably that will be a good thing. Because say it's critics.
You're not gonna space, just try and fill the space.
Yeah, you know, despite being the opposition, I don't know what Kenyans are feeling about that. Despite giving critics, you know, provide solution. You did this and that and that. You know, if I was in leadership, I could have done this and that. You know, that could be another thing. Instead of criticizing, you know, giving the downfalls of the government, you know, that's another thing. Yeah. And as we wind up, we have that is 1 minute. What do you have?
Just welcoming my viewers on the next segment. We have Lifestyle Tuesday. You're in the Mental Health Awareness Month, and I welcome all of you, because the topic we have today is a very incredible topic that will help all of us in things to do mental wellness and connected to faith.
Mental wellness unajua kitu inasumbua watu wengi sana.
Sana unaona watu wanatembea huko kwa barabara, but mtu akili yake iko Mandela.
People are smiling, Grace, but deep inside they're not okay.
True.
That is really an interesting topic that everyone should you know, tune in and listen to. Another thing, we still have the Ladies of Nobility.
We have the Ladies of Nobility coming this Saturday. That is the 17th of May 2025. We welcome all ladies, no matter the age. We welcome you. Come, let us be equipped and learn about, you know, spirituality, things to do with spirituality, and also come, let us intercede for our families, the nation. For our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in for this amazing segment that is the current affairs. We're always here to make sure that you stay updated of what is happening that is in our country and beyond. I'm Angela Kabete. We had an amazing time together with Grace here in studio. Till next time, bye bye.